Thank you.
We've got a couple of minutes. See if anybody else is coming. Should be some. Ah, good.
Good evening, Bob.
Hello, Bob. Bob, you're muted.
Blimey, I'm going all over
Right,
the place.
I'm unmuted. I'm unmuted.
Oh,
Hello, everyone.
good. So, hello, Bob. Yes,
Hello
Bob.
again.
that was it.
Hello,
Hello.
Josh.
Hello,
Hello, Jill.
Hello, Jeff. Unmute. I'm unmuted.
Are you coming in on two computers?
No, I
Paul?
think you give me record. Oh, sorry.
Actually, yes, I might be, Hazel. It's because it's been taking forever. If this one works, I'd rather use that one. So if it connects, could
Okay,
you?
well, I've let the other one in, so.
Oh, thank you. It's still doing nothing on my screen, so I'll stick to this one for now.
I've got a very funny gallery view. I don't know what's happening. I can't. And apparently, I'm recording. I don't want that. Oh, maybe it's Hazel recording. Oh,
No,
my
I'm
God.
not recording. I think Paul's recording at the moment. I'm going to be recording soon.
Oh, well, I've gone off now. I
Rodney,
can't see anybody.
good evening, Rodney. Did you want me to change your name?
Oh, okay. Yes, please, John. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, my other computer's just crashed. Can you change mine as well, please, John, if it's convenient?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got to go and find Brian now because I can't work his laptop. Hang on. Darling.
At least it was darling.
What was that? Or at least it was darling, did you say? Yeah. So I don't know what's happened.
What? I don't either.
Well, I didn't touch anything. Well, I did, but not.
We've got some avatars up. Do we want them up or down?
Oh,
You're back on,
thank you.
but I haven't got rid of that, so.
No. So there's a black thing. No, if I don't want to see it. Look, it says it's recording. And I need full screen.
Oh dear, what would you do without your husband, darling?
Yeah, I know.
There you all are. Do you want full whatnots?
Yeah,
Oh, God.
it looks completely different.
No, it's gone again. Sorry about that. Oh, I know.
Ah, brilliant. Right. I won't be able to touch anything now. No. So, so sorry about that. So, good evening, everybody. Good to see you all. And it's now 7:32, so I better open the meeting, please. John, could you please do the GDPR?
Okay, certainly will, Madam Chairman. GDPR notice. Please note that the council is, and members of the public and individual councillors could be, making audio or video recordings of this meeting. The council's recordings will be uploaded to a cloud-based website of record and will be available indefinitely to the general public. By participating at the meeting, including by merely logging into it, you consent to this. If you do not consent to these terms, you should please not log into the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, thank you. So can we start with apologies for absence, please? Are there any?
None received. I believe we have a full house, Chair.
Excellent, thank you. Declarations of interest and dispensations, do we have any? I can't, sorry, I have to keep putting my glasses
No
on and off.
hands. Oh, Tim's got a
No,
hand up.
sorry, who has?
Tim's
Oh,
got a
Tim,
hand up.
yes, Tim,
You're muted, Tim.
you're muted.
Muted, Tim.
You did.
Sorry, Chair. Just on a point of order, can we perhaps have the visitors' videos off, because it's confusing for members of the public to see who are actual councillors and who aren't.
Okay, that's
Okay,
done.
okay, thank you.
Thank
Good,
you,
so
everyone.
item 3, sorry, thank you. Item 3, questions from the floor. Now, I know there's one from Sally. Is Sally actually here?
No.
No. So, John, do you think you could read it out, please? And I believe that Paul is going to answer this.
Okay, yeah, I certainly will do. And by the way, I believe Sally was, she did ask for the login details, so maybe she'll join us a little bit later.
Right, okay.
So she said, I know you've confirmed that skips for the allotment would be coming towards end of March, April. We also have a bonfire waiting to be burnt on our plot next to the Mill Road end gate on Rubley's. This is obviously allotment related, that we have held off burning because of COVID discouragement from HDC earlier. Would it be possible to have a communal bonfire around the time the skips arrive, as we did before, so that we can get rid of the burnable rubbish? It would be good to have a tidy up.
Thank you, John. Paul, please.
Yes, Chair, you did ask me to respond to this. I mean, it isn't authorised by the committee, but it's my best go at it, which is really to say to Sally and anybody else that the working party that is working on the new allotment agreement met yesterday and had a very constructive 2-hour meeting, as a result of which I think we're very close to a draft which we'll be able to consult on. And I think it's true to say that there was a consensus that because the council now provides skips, that we would be moving towards a policy of no further bonfires. But we haven't decided that yet, and we haven't consulted on it yet. And so I think the answer is that it'll be great if this year's bonfire goes ahead, subject to John's approval via risk assessment and so forth. But it will probably be the last one. But it depends on decisions to be made further down the line. So that was what I emailed you, Chair, to say that I intended to say subject to your approval. I think perhaps you haven't had time to see it yet. So I copied in all committee members. So
Sorry, Paul. I've replied to it.
Oh, sorry, I haven't seen it myself then.
That's all right, don't worry. I suggested that we, as Hazel sent us something that HDC said, that really it was, it could go ahead with a proviso that HDC hasn't changed their policy yet, and we're okay with it just for this year.
Yeah, well, I think that's it. I mean, there is increasing feeling that the particulates given off by such things are not really environmentally great anymore. And as we're providing the skips, hopefully we won't need any more bonfires up there, but we haven't consulted yet and we haven't decided that yet, Chair.
No. So I think we sort of say provisionally it might go ahead, but we need to consult with HDC first. Is that all right, John?
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned somewhere, I'm not sure on which email, that my hope was that, yes, we could provide a couple of early skips to get the ball rolling, but certainly we can have this as an agenda item for April, and by that time we should have had another working party meeting, so we should be in good position, I think, to come forward with our preferred option, if everyone is in agreement with that.
Mm-hmm. What, is everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah, would you be able to just clarify? I'm really not sure what it is to do with Horsham. I mean, why has Horsham got anything to do with this?
Well, because I think they have a policy on bonfires. John, sorry.
Well, it Because it's air pollution, it comes under environmental health, and if someone decides to complain, then HDC are generally called, and then we would be called ourselves from HDC, and then we would have to give an explanation as to why we were doing what we were doing. So yes, they're involved. So generally, that's why we ask their advice as to their latest advice, as it were.
Yeah, but as far as I know, nothing's changed. I mean, there's always been the potential of nuisance from smoke, but there's not some smoke control order that's come in or anything, so nothing's changed.
No.
No, well, I don't think we can really give a complete decision yet, but until we've had our second working party meeting, which will be anyway fairly shortly, so we could have a good talk about it and decide after that. Simon.
Yeah, I think Jeff Barnard's actually got the answer to this. He's put his hand up a couple of minutes ago.
Well, Jeff isn't really a member of the council, but
Really,
It'd be good to hear from him, Chair.
I would like to hear from him. So
sorry for butting in. I just happened to have checked the guidance on the Horsham website today, and while they discourage bonfires for a bunch of reasons, they don't appear to sort of actually ban them. So I don't think there is any definitive rule from them on this point.
Thank you very much, Jeff. So that looks as if we go ahead with the proviso that they can have the bonfire as long as John has all the health and safety aspects in order. Is that all right, John?
Yeah, certainly I'd undertake a risk assessment, but as I say, the likelihood is we'd be arranging this for after the next community meeting, yeah. So we'll be better placed to, make that decision then, probably.
Yeah, thank you. Rodney.
I was going to say, there's a member of public that I think obviously Hazel's missed, muted, but not turned the video off.
Oh, they've all got, Diana.
Maybe she's wanting to ask a question.
Diana, is there any chance you could turn your video off unless you want to ask a question, please?
Meanwhile, John, are there any more are there any other questions from the floor?
No other questions received, no other hands up that I can see. Rodney's hands up at the moment, but that's all, Chair.
Well, I did ask him to speak, but I don't know whether he, Rodney?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I have got a question, but I'm quite happy for it to be left until information items.
That's fine. Thank you very much. Okay. So now I would like to...
Chair.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, Paul's hand's now up.
Oh, sorry, Paul.
Well, yes, Chair, because I think the normal practice is to invite members of the public who want to ask questions to turn their videos on at this stage, and I don't think we've done that. So there may be someone who wants to ask a question who hasn't yet been invited to turn their video on.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Thank you. So if there's a member of the public who would like to ask a question, please would they turn their video on?
We do have a hand from Richard Goring.
Yes, Richard, you're muted.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure whether there's a slot later on to talk about the proposed right of way, in which case I will turn my video off if there is, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity if this is the moment.
Yes, at the moment it's item 10.1, but I'm going to move it up the agenda. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. So minutes of previous meetings, item 4. Councillors to agree as a true and fair record the draft minutes of the community committee meetings held on the 5th of January and 2nd of February 2021. We've all had the supporting papers. Is there anybody who would like to talk about these slight amendments that have been made to one or other of them before we agree them, please? Tim.
Sorry, Chair, I was under the impression that John was going to talk about these because obviously he has to agree them.
Right, okay. John.
Well, Paul's hand was just before. I'm not sure if he was going to say something different.
Oh, sorry, I can't see it. It's very dark.
No, I was just going to say what I said in my email, which is that I'm happy with those amendments, and I was expecting that John would speak to them.
Right, okay. Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you. In advance of sending out the 5th January draft minutes, I did make small amendments to item 4.1. And they're obviously within the draft minutes, so there's no further amendments need to be agreed. It's just whether we agree to that. I'm not sure if you wanted to vote on that first, and then I could speak to the other set of minutes, Chair.
Right, okay. Thank you very much. Could I ask that we approve the draft minutes of the 5th of January, sorry, as they have been amended. So if I could propose that, please. Do I have to second? Thank you, Simon. All those in favour?
Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you very much. And the same for the minutes of the 2nd of February. I propose that we accept these minutes, draft minutes. And sorry, John. Oh, you're going to talk. Sorry, John, you're going to talk about it. Yes,
okay. Thank you. Paul kindly sent in advance some suggested amendments with regard to 2nd Feb. And I responded earlier today because Hazel kindly sat once again through the recordings just to double check. So the 3 amendments, just for purposes of the recording and our public audience. The first was to change the 4 small spelling errors when meter was spelt RE instead of ER. That was through items 80.1 and 80.2. The second amendment was under 80.3 to read in terms of the proposal. Councillor Hanson proposed, seconded by Councillor Alexander, that a working party consisting of Councillors Lloyd, Hanson, Norcross, Sarah Sullivan and Campbell meet to look at the allotment agreement details and work out a new allotment lease. Then actually we removed instead that discuss a new allotment agreement and price increases. So that was a small amendment. But because we removed price increases, and though it was part of the discussion and the way that it was introduced as an item, I have actually, or Hazel has actually added the initial sentence stating that Councillor Hanson stated there was a need to discuss and agree the timescales for working out a new allotment agreement and when and if allotment fees are to be discussed. But that, of course, wasn't in the motion, but that was just to give extra narrative as to what was being discussed at the time. So that was the second amendment. The third amendment under 84.1 was to remove the words "to be able to assist in some way" from Paul's amendment proposal, and rather include "under which the council may pay for some or all of the fence." And so reading then the proposal, that the parish council look into the extent of the obligations that rest on the owner of the fence, and in the event that the council is unable to force the repair, the council enter into negotiations under which the council may pay for some or all of the fence. And that's it, Chairman.
Thank you, John. Right, okay. So could I propose those amendments to the minutes of the 5th of Feb, 2nd of Feb? Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Simon. All those in favour?
Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. That's good. Right. So if we go back to the agenda, I would like now, please, to bring up item 6.1, which is the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, as there are several people here, I think, who are going to, who represent us on the working party, and are going to bring us up to date. And then I think we're going to put forward a motion. So, Jeff, I think you're going to speak. Would you like to unmute and...
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Chair. Yes, well, after the very kind of positive feedback received at the last communities meeting, I think we're very much on track with plans and keen to kind of crack on now. There was a couple of items that came up in the last meeting, which I'm sorry I couldn't attend myself, but I understand that one of them was around the a query around the costs associated with the survey printing and distribution, which I'll defer to John, who I know has got the numbers together. And then there were a couple of suggestions around the actual survey itself, and there was just one substantive comment on the questions relating to electric vehicle charging, and there was a helpful comment from Councillor Campbell saying that it needed to be tweaked slightly. And in the version you have with the agenda, version 3, under the electric vehicle section, you'll see there is an extra option has been added. It says, I would get one if there were handy public charging points. And that was designed to apply to people who actually don't have handy parking at the moment, but would get a car if they could charge in a public space. So that's a small tweak. And since actually doing this, I've had a couple of further conversations, and I would like to suggest this is even tweaked further to make it even clearer. So I'm suggesting it would be better if it read, and I would be much more likely to get one if there were handy public charging points. So I'm proposing that would be the final tweak there. The other area we had to look at was the deadline and the sort of closing date. The working party talked this over, and we've come up with a suggestion that we should try and get the surveys out as soon as we can, distribute them through all the channels that we can think of, various email newsletters and on the website and social media. But we're suggesting a closing date of the 30th of April, which gives recipients plenty of time, probably at least 6 weeks, maybe six or seven. And just thinking ahead from that, we will aim to get the report of the survey results written up in the first week of May. And the working party has scheduled a meeting on the 11th to discuss this. And at that point, we'll be in a position to draft an application for the community highway scheme that West Sussex will be looking at. So the hope is that we can get that application approved, so that by early June we can put that submission into to County Council, because they've probably got a month or 6 weeks of actually kind of site visits to take care of, where they'll be doing some speed monitoring on quite a few of the roads. And we're very keen that they can get going on this as soon as possible, so that we don't get compressed at the end of the year when we're all heading to a final application deadline. So so those are the two. They're just a couple of minor changes to the survey, but otherwise we're ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you. Tim?
I just wondered whether, Chair, through you, whether Jeff could talk about the cost of the distribution, etc.
Right. I think John will be able to confirm this, but I understand that the cheapest cost for the printing for 3,500 copies was £186, and it was £227 for distribution. Plus, there will be some extra costs for mailing it to the houses which are just on the fringes of Steyning. So what we were thinking, there's some fine detail to be sorted out on exactly how much Bramber needs to cover from this. And that depends a little bit on precisely which houses they want to distribute it to. But the total cost is going to be certainly well under £750. So the suggestion was that if the committee would be happy to authorise John to sort of to finalise that number, then we could agree on it now and delegate that to him, because we're really keen to get going on this, as you can understand.
Thank you, Jeff. It would be John and myself, because we have okay, yeah, okay, you understand, yeah. Sorry, we're delegated to authorise payment up to £1,000. Tim?
No, I don't have anything much to say, Chair, that hasn't already been said, apart from the fact to thank Jeff and Dean and Ian for all the hard work that they've put in to get this out. It's a very good document, and I'm hoping that the community will take it on board and respond accordingly. Bramber are willing to pay, I think I'm right in saying, Mike Crow could correct me, but up to 10% of the costs, and they will be responsible for undertaking the postal side of theirs, other than those in the roads that are abutting our built up boundary, like Goring Road. There will be some outlying houses which they will take on the responsibility for. But obviously that will be subject to John, if we delegate the authority to him, and the chair to approve whatever they do. But other than that, Chair, I don't really have anything to say.
Thank you. Thank you. So anybody else like to say anything, please, before we put forward the motion? No. So Tim, you've got a motion, but I think we probably also need to include in that a vote to agree the slight alteration about the electric vehicles.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, I've just, because that came in, I quickly changed it. Shall I make the proposal then?
Yes,
Chair?
please, and I'll second it. Yeah.
All right. I propose that we agree the recommendations from the 20 MPH Working Party to move forward with the postal and online questionnaires, subject to the changes to the EV question that was raised tonight, up to a value of £750, which is to cover the cost of the questionnaire, hand delivery and postage to outlying homes within the parish. This will include houses in Bramber Parish directly abutting the Steyning Parish boundary and within the proposed 20 MPH scheme. Bramber Parish Council are prepared to contribute up to 10% of the cost and will undertake the posting of the questionnaires to those outlying homes affected by the proposal. The committee agrees to delegate the clerk to liaise with the chair to action the printing and delivery of the questionnaires.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Sorry, Chair, I'll pass a copy on to Hazel for her to.
Thank you very much. Well, just before I second that, or somebody else does, Rodney, you've got a question.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps you can please help me to understand. This motion, shouldn't it have been on the agenda? Because sometimes when it suits, you know, when I brought things up, you know, it's not been on the agenda, so we can't vote for it. I've got no problem with this, but you know, we seem to be changing our method of how we do motions. 1 minute you can't do it because it's not on the agenda, and then, like in this case, it's not on the agenda, and yet, you know, we're passing it. As I said, I've got no problem with it, but can you please explain to me how things change? Because I thought that, you know, that if we've got rules and standing orders, we should operate to them.
Thank you. John?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, it is on the agenda, Rodney, under 6.1, update, Steyning 20 miles per hour.
It doesn't say a motion, John.
It's not the precise motion, Rodney, sorry to speak over you. It's not the precise motion, but it does say to agree printing and distribution details.
Yeah.
So we can actually formulate a motion under that item.
So in future, is that how we can do it now then in future? We're changing it a bit, you know, to suit. As I said, I've got no problem with this proposal at all. But it's the principle of this, that it seems that when it suits councillors, it's okay, but when it doesn't, when a motion comes forward and then the motion doesn't suit, it's not allowed. And you know, we've got to be black and white on this. And because it doesn't say a motion, it just says to agree. You know, I mean, so you know.
Thank you, Rodney. Okay, Tim.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think if Councillor Goldsmith has a query or a complaint about this before, then we would need to have some evidence of that. But from what I remember in the past, these have come up when they haven't, things like updates, when we used to have updates, without putting on the beginning of these updates, which I certainly have on the F&GP committee to agree and discuss any actions that that come from the actions. So no, we don't have a motion there. We rarely do have motions in unless they're put in for specific reasons. And we are here to agree and to discuss. And that is the key part of it, as far as I'm concerned. And that really hasn't changed in all these years. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Well,
Sarah.
I think when
I thought it was democracy, Tim.
I think when Councillor Lloyd was saying his motion, I think he said EV. I mean, I would know what that is because I've just put one in, but I just wondered if we could put the full name in, you know, electric car charging, because I think some people would read it and think, what's an EV? They might not actually know what that is.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Well, I'd like to second Tim's motion, please. So could I, oh, sorry, Paul.
Well, Chair, it's a plea, really. I've got no issue that this motion falls within the terms of the agenda. That's not a problem for me. But it does look as though this was something that was thought about some while in advance. And it's just a plea, really, that even if we'd seen this in writing 10 minutes before the meeting, it would be useful because it's a pretty complex motion, this, and it's just useful to see it in writing. So I'm just ask if somebody's got something they're doing, why not let us see it in advance rather than spring it on us?
That's the way the council works.
Thank you. Well,
that's the way the council
works. The explanation of that is that at the working party, it was agreed that Dean and Tim would do a joint motion, and Tim has just, you know, been able to put that forward to now. So sorry that you haven't seen it in advance, but I think would you like it read out again before we vote?
Well, I think that would be helpful if you don't mind.
Tim, would you mind?
No, I don't
Tim?
mind. And sorry, Chair, I was just going to say it is a fair point. But unfortunately, Dean and I didn't speak until today, and I've had other meetings the whole day, and I literally just wrote this before I sat down and got online here. So along with other motions in the past, we've just had to go with it on an ad hoc basis. But yes, I agree. If we have a complicated one in the future, it would be good to have those put through. Okay, I'll read it out again. I propose that we agree the recommendation from the 20 MPH Working Party to move forward with the postal and online questionnaires, subject to the changes to the electric vehicle charging point question raised tonight, up to a value of £750, which is to cover the cost of the questionnaire, hand delivery, and postage to outlying homes within the parish. This will include homes in Bramber Parish directly abutting the Steyning Parish boundary and within the proposed 20 MPH scheme. Bramber Parish Council are prepared to contribute up to 10% of the cost and will undertake the posting of the questionnaire to those outlying homes affected by the proposal. The committee agrees to delegate the clerk to liaise with the chair to action the printing and delivery of the questionnaires.
Thank you, Tim. So I would like to second that, please.
Well, Chair, could I just comment now I've heard it again?
Yeah.
Because that resolution, the resolution now provides for Bramber to be doing something, which we've got no power over. I mean, I can see that it needs to be a conditional element in some way. I just feel that there needs to be a little tweak on it to make whatever happens conditional upon Bramber doing it.
Well, we did agree 1 or 2 meetings ago that Bramber would join us. So Mike Croker and Di are our representatives from Bramber.
Well, we know that, Chair. But the point I raised last time was that we need to agree a protocol as to the proportion they're willing to pay. Now we're told that they are willing to pay, but that has no place in a resolution of our own.
Whether we can take it out, Chair.
We can take it out, yeah.
But then we need to make our resolution conditional upon them doing it, or upon them confirming they will do it.
Mike, are you there? Could you speak on this for Bramber?
I am here, Chair, yes. What are you actually after?
Oh, sorry. Well, Paul was asking that why were we including you in the motion? Yeah. And he was saying that the motion was conditional upon you joining us, I gather. I think that's right.
Yeah, I'm not quite clear exactly what you want from us, really.
Well, perhaps Paul, could you talk to Mike about it, please? What you suggested?
It's really difficult because all I'm trying to do is make sure that we have a resolution which is freestanding and is all within the power of SPC, which the current one doesn't sound as though it is. So all I'm saying is we can resolve to do all sorts of things, and one element of it, I assume the degree of delegation, will need to be conditional on Bramber agreeing to do that element. So it's not part of the resolution, but it is conditional upon it. This is the problem of dealing with a complicated resolution on the hoof.
Well, I don't think it was done on the hoof. John.
It was.
John.
No, we are doing it on the hoof, is my point.
We are.
John.
Yeah, I've got maybe 3/4 of the resolution down, but what I did say is, what I've put is that this will include the Bramber 10%. Maybe we could say this may include, rather than.
I think it would need to be conditional upon.
Condition.
I think it just needs to be. It will be conditional upon.
Tim.
Yeah, I just think I think we're overcomplicating it. If we want to take Bramber out of the equation, then we can do so. We're talking about £70, and I would hate to think this is conditional upon another council paying us the money, and for some reason they may decide not to do so. I'm sure that's not going to be the case. So I don't think it should be conditional on them doing it. we want to go ahead with this, and I'm recommending to council that we move ahead with it. If councillors are minded that what Paul is saying is actually correct, then fine, we can take Bramber out of the equation. It doesn't take the houses that we will have to get in touch with that abut it, because it would be polite to have them involved, because they're going to be involved, because they're going to be affected by the 20th. But I just, I just think we should move ahead with it. I don't mind, as I say, if we take.
Mike's got his hand up, Deborah.
I think I've. Yes, Mike.
Well,
I'm sorry, I think I've frozen.
No, you're fine.
No, you're okay.
I mean, Bramber Parish
Mike?
Council has agreed to go in with this. We seem to be arguing about £75, whether we're actually going to pay it or not.
Arguing?
No, we're
Sorry,
not.
discussing. So, does it really require a legal document here? I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe I'm
No,
missing
Chair, it
something.
doesn't. That wasn't the suggestion, and I wholeheartedly agree with what Tim Lloyd has said. That obviously we take it on trust, but what we don't have is it within our own resolution. That's all.
Well, I don't see why it shouldn't be within our own resolution, because Bramber Parish Council have said that they are going to support this up to 10% of the, and that's certainly at the moment just for the leaflets, up to 10% of the cost. So I can't understand why I can't understand why we can't include them in the motion. Tim.
Yeah, I honestly, I think we're overcomplicating this. We can take Bramber out. Bramber have already said, and I'm sure they will honour it, it's only £75 to help towards the cost, and that can be a separate agreement. What I don't want is this conditional on them doing it. So why don't we take Bramber Parish Council, the part of it out, and then we carry on with the proposal.
I'll second that, Chair.
Tim, thank you very much. So Tim, sorry, I think you're going to have to read that.
I'll read it all out again. Okay, I propose that we agree the recommendation from the 20 MPH Working Party to move forward with the postal and online questionnaires subject to the changes to the electrical vehicle charging point question raised tonight, up to a value of £750, which is to cover the cost of the questionnaire, hand delivery and postage to outlying homes within the parish. This will include homes in Bramber Parish directly abutting the Steyning Parish boundary and within the proposed 20 MPH scheme. The committee agrees to delegate the clerk to liaise with the chair to action the printing and delivery of the questionnaire.
Thank you very much.
I'll second that, Chair.
Right, okay, lovely, Paul, thank you very much. All those in favour, please.
Unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much indeed. So could we now move on to item, 10.1, which is the DMMO, and to discuss and agree to deliver the completed DMMO application for the rifle range footpaths to West Sussex County Council. So Jill, would you like to speak to this, please? Jill?
We've got Chris and Jill.
Oh, yeah. And Chris. I can't see Chris. Sorry.
Right. I don't know. Do you want me to start? Shall I start?
Yeah, can I just intervene at this point? We do need to bear in mind that this is a potentially contentious matter and that the landowner is present, and that this might be a matter which needs to be, at least some of it, discussed in confidential session. Well, I can see the Deputy Clerk is shaking her head for some reason. Now, I have written a confidential memo, which I've not had a response to yet, in which I've flagged up certain concerns that I have about this. So I wouldn't want that to be discussed, but equally in public, but equally, I think that it should be discussed before we make a decision about what we're actually going to do. And so that part of it, I would like to propose to go into confidential session. As for reports from Mrs. Munsey and Councillor Young, that's fine, provided they just do have it in mind that this is a potentially contentious matter. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you, thank you. Right, well, would you two like to just report to us before I ask Richard to talk, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's just to really tell the committee that the DMMO for the rifle range application has now been put together, and to quickly outline the reasons for the application. As you all know, the rifle range is particularly popular with walkers, and Nightingale Lane is important for the access to the community orchard at the end of the gravel path. The suggested paths in the DMMO would link to two other public footpaths, one being the Lower Horseshoe and the other one being linked to go up to the South Downs Way and onto Chanctonbury. Also, the purpose of this DMMO is to give access to the historic target area of the rifle range. So that was these are the reasons that the DMMO was begun. I know Rick will speak to his own concerns about trying to get it as a public footpath, and both Jill and I do understand his reasons, but I would hope that the nature of these paths would mean that they wouldn't be expensive to maintain from the estate's point of view. I know there's been an extensive cull of the diseased ash trees on the Lower Horseshoe, which has been very costly, but I would hope that similar problems wouldn't arise with these paths. I think that's all I want to say. I don't know if Jill wants to add anything before Rick speaks.
I could very briefly.
Thank you, Chris. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I would just remind the committee that this project started way back in 2018. There was an initial council-backed application in February 2019, which the county council rejected because they said there were too many paths involved. So that's why we're now coming back with a simplified application. All we are doing is asking the county council to make a judgment on whether there was use by the public as of right for a 20-year period from 1989 through to 2009. The final decision on whether this becomes public right-of-way is made by the county council in line with national legislation. So when we met in November, I was under the impression that you wanted to go ahead with this because you sent us off to get all the forms completed. And as so many members of the public have taken the time and trouble to fill in these quite detailed forms, some of them for the second time, I do very much hope that there's not been a change of heart since, because I think it would be very difficult now. And as I say, I apologise to Rick because I gave him the impression that this had already been agreed, but I had understood in November it had been agreed. So I wasn't expecting to come back again. But anyway, obviously it's up to you to make the decision.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Richard.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yes. Hello. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Chris and Jill for giving some time previously to talk through this request to the council. I think from my point of view, I just wanted to set some context really on the St Anne's scheme, and I speak in a way with two hats on. One is as a trustee of the St Anne's scheme, and one as the kind of family who own the land. But from a St Anne's scheme perspective, it was set up to create, a closer partnership with Steyning and to enable greater access to that area, and to build the relationship that people have with nature, and particularly with learning about conservation and how nature operates, and how we engage with that from a farming point of view, but also from a biodiversity point of view. And the bit which was just slightly frustrating or saddening, I suppose, was that it felt like the nature of that, which was to partner and to engage and to open access for people, felt like it was being a little bit steamrolled by a desire to say, well, we definitely need to have this in perpetuity forever. It was just didn't feel like it was in the spirit of how the St Anne's scheme had started and been created. And I think I therefore did talk to Chris about the potential for a license of access to those areas, because we totally understand it's massively well used, and over lockdown that's been enormous and increased. And last weekend when the sun came out, there were hundreds of people walking in that area, which is great, and that's a good thing. I think the challenge for us from a St Anne's scheme point of view is that we're also trying to manage it for nature, and it is difficult to balance people's needs with biodiversity or grazing and various other things that are part of the reality of farming and managing land. And once you have an in perpetuity public right of way, that flexibility of management basically goes away. So you don't have an option to say, look, we need to move the access from here to here because we've got to have grazing animals in this area to look after short grassland or keep scrub back, etc. So that flexibility, which we want from a management point of view, gets taken out of our hands. And so that's a challenge for us. And then, as Chris mentioned, there can be things like ash dieback, where you've got to clear that hazard from a health and safety point of view. And the cost for closing a path, if we're going to close paths to fell trees, is £2,000 if it's anything over, I think, 21 days. Now, if you're doing a major felling operation, it lasts longer than 21 days. So it is a pretty serious expense. And I take Chris's point that, one can't foresee at the moment any major expense on maintenance for this area. But I don't think we would have foreseen that ash dieback would have turned up and caused a massive issue for the footpaths on the site, which it is. So from my perspective, I again want to put forward to the council the idea of a 10-year license of access for that area, which can be reviewed. And if from a natural management point of view, it's required to divert access or move it around, that's something that can be discussed in partnership with the council, rather than the sense of it being an entitled right to cross those areas. And on that basis, as an estate, we would oppose the application to the council. And our view is that we would probably succeed in that for a number of reasons, not least because the tenant farmer is pretty clear that he didn't allow any access over that area during that period of time. So Chair, that's my thought, which I wanted to just put forward to the council before they press the green light on it.
Thank you very much indeed. Would anybody else like to speak, please, before we vote? Whether Paul.
Well, Chair, I'd really like to come back to the point that I made, that I'd like to propose that we postpone this to the end of the meeting and then go into confidential session in order to decide what we intend to do, because there are things that we need to say. And I would suggest that both Councillor Young and Mrs. Munces attend that part of the meeting, but I think that we do need to discuss the matters which have been raised by Mr. Goring in a way where we can talk about it freely.
How does everybody else feel about that? Simon.
Simon's hand up.
I completely object to going to confidential. This isn't contractual. I think it's a matter that should be discussed in the interest of openness and transparency in open session. We can't include one side in the debate without including the other. It would be immoral and incorrect to do so.
No. Rodney.
Well, I agree with Mrs. Muncie. I thought that this had been agreed, way back last year sometime, and the only thing that we were going to do was to get signatures from people, residents that had used it, and then I thought tonight's meeting was just a case of saying that we've got everything in gear and we're forwarding all the details to the County Council for further discussion. I didn't realise that it was something that we were going to be talking about. So in that case, and I mean, it could be embarrassing as well. I do agree with Councillor Campbell that I think it should be in a confidential session, because it's not fair to Mr. Goring, to be there, because we're all, we've got to bear to speak freely about this. It's a major thing, from the landowner's point of view and also from the residents' point of view. So I tend to agree with Councillor Campbell that we've said things now, but I think the next stage is to go into a confidential session.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you. Tim.
You're muted, Tim.
You're muted.
Apologies. No, I agree with Rodney. I'm concerned because I thought we'd already agreed this in principle. So I don't even know why we're having to think about going into confidential session. I don't know whether, John, you can confirm that, but from what Jill Munsey was saying is that we had already agreed it, and it was in the back of my mind, and unfortunately I didn't check it before I came to the meeting.
John.
Yes, thank you. I don't have the motion in front of me. However, I'm fairly certain it was agreed at the time that we should start the application for this particular DMMO. But it was voiced at the time that before it was to go off, it ought to come back to committee for final agreement. So that's why we are where we are.
Thank you. Richard would like to talk. Richard would like to speak.
Is it right? I'm very happy if you want to have a confidential session. I don't mind at all. I think my only thing I wanted just to make sure that you had heard as a council was something which I'd mentioned to Chris, and I think she did pass this on to you as a council, which was that I'm very open to an alternative option of a license agreement that has the nature of a contract that can be discussed rather than a rigid in perpetuity right. So that from my point of view is very much on the table and something that I would be keen to and happy to progress. But I'm very happy to for you to discuss it obviously without me, because that might well be less difficult, which is fine.
Thank you very much. Sarah.
I think we should go into confidential session. We can still make a decision tonight. I thought that we were going to come back to this, and I thought that there were a few things which, as time has gone on, we have become concerned about. I mean, I would like to say something, but we're not in confidential session. But my concern is that by doing this, we are slightly opening up a can of worms. So I would really like to go into confidential session. I wasn't aware until the email came through that Jill and Chris had actually met with Rick. And I would second any proposal that I believe Councillor Campbell has made, that we go into confidential session. It's of such importance to the town.
Right, thank you very much. Chris?
Just to say, if there are concerns about the meeting that Jill and I had with Rick, it was attended by Hazel, so it was sanctioned. It wasn't Jill and I going off on our own, and it was requested by Rick Goring, as I'm sure he'll say, just to talk things through for one last time before the application went in. So there was nothing that went on that wasn't above board and sanctioned. So I can't see any need to go into confidential.
Right, thank you, Chris. Joanna?
Just simply to say that I'm absolutely opposed to us going into confidential session. If this is something that's very important to the community of Steyning, which it is, I think we should discuss it so that they can hear it and be privy to it. I can't see any reason why we would be in confidential. I can't think of anything that we would be saying that we shouldn't be able to say in front of everyone else. And I think it's actually very important, if we have a discussion about this, that we do it in public session.
Thank you, Joanna. John?
I was just going to maybe add to what Chris said. If there was any concerns about a discussion with the landowner, part of the application process is that we should engage with the landowner. So therefore it fell within that remit, we felt.
Right, thank you. Rodney?
I was going to say, I've got no problem with Chris and Jill and Hazel speaking to Rick Goring. You know, I mean, it is part of the process. It's just
right. Okay.
The stage that I think that should be in confidential.
Right. Thank you very much. Well, as Jill and Chris have put forward the motion, I think that we ought to have a vote about whether we actually go into confidential session, because Chris has obviously said that she doesn't think we should. And so obviously there's division between us. And so I think Paul has suggested we do proposed we go into confidential session. Sarah has seconded that. So I think we ought to vote on it. So could I have all those who are in favour of going into confidential session, please? Those against? Sorry, John, sorry.
Sorry, 4-4. Thank you.
Right, those against?
That's 4 against.
And as I have the casting vote, I think we won't go into confidential session, please, and we will just talk about it, because I think, as Chris says, it is very important for Steyning to understand how we come to these conclusions. And so I think if anybody would like to say anything else, please. Tim.
Chair, I'm a bit confused about the vote. How many voted against?
4. And I made it myself.
Oh, I see. You actually didn't vote. Right, okay.
I did vote.
She's got chairman's
vote.
I did my chairman's vote.
Okay, should be 5.
Okay. Simon.
I think we really need to be considering Mr. Goring's proposal of a 10-year licence. I mean, one of the things we have to remember, that rifle range is a site of historical interest. And of course, that still gives the landowner the ability to close a path if necessary to protect a site of historical interest. When I visited the rifle range myself and various buildings up there, they do seem to have a spate of graffiti attacks, for example. Well, if Rick has the ability to stop people visiting it, we can hopefully curb that sort of activity. I think forcing it upon the Goring family that this is going to be in perpetuity, I can't agree with. I would much rather see that 10-year license, and I think that's a much more sensible way to go forward. Also considering as well that we can then take into consideration wildlife habitats, for example.
Right. Thank you, Simon. Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Well, just to go back, I agree with what has been said previously, that we have already made the decision that we're going to pursue this application. The purpose of this evening, as I understood it, was purely to approve or not the actual application form and the supporting documents. And that was the thing that I've got some reservations over. The decision to do this is made. And so it's a question of, are we happy with the form? Are we happy with the evidence? I'm not going to say anything publicly about the reservations that I've got about that. I've expressed them privately. But the decision to proceed with this has been made. And furthermore, let me just address a couple of things that Mr. Goring has said. I mean, he's talked about the Steyning Downland scheme, and fantastic thing it is, but that post-dates the acquisition of the right-of-way, if indeed it has been acquired, because the whole point is that the public are saying that they have been using this as of right since, I don't know what the date is, something around about 1980. Whatever it is, it predates the Steyning Downland scheme. And it was a period when, on the Goring family's own evidence, the place was very neglected. Basically, they'd lost control of it, if I can put it rather crudely, and the public were exercising rights over it as of right, which is the legal test. And now we are in effect acting as trustees on behalf of the public. Either the public has acquired this right or it hasn't. If it has, then West Sussex County Council will register it as a right of way. If it hasn't, then they've got no right, and we'll need to go and ask whether we can continue to, or the public will need to ask whether they can continue and whether the offer from Mr. Goring of a licence is still available. But we can't, the council's got no right to surrender what is on the evidence a public right of way in perpetuity in exchange for an offer of a 10-year licence. We must pursue our mandate of trying to establish the right of way, and only if we do not succeed, if there is not, I mean, it's not trying to establish something, we're saying that it already exists, and we've got the evidence that it already exists. That's all. So I don't think we've got any basis on which to revisit the decision that we made earlier that we would pursue this, or to enter into any negotiations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree actually with Councillor Campbell. It's a matter of principle. We have already agreed this. It is a right. It's been, or at least we're establishing it as of right. And as he says, it will be down to West Sussex to decide whether that is the case. We've already decided it in principle, and I think we should endorse it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Simon.
I think any decision that was made over 6 months ago. So, and when that decision was made, there wasn't an offer made by the landowner of a 10-year licence. So we should at least be considering the offer that's been made tonight by the landowner.
Thank you, Simon. Sarah?
Councillor Munsey. Councillor Munsey has got
Sorry,
her
Jill.
hand up.
Sorry, I can't see it.
Oh, sorry, Jill. Jill.
Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't see it.
You're muted, Jill.
You're muted, Jill.
Sorry. All I wanted to say was, first of all, and I have checked all the council papers on the website, the lease offer was made in the supporting papers to the Amenities Committee on the 23rd of July 2020. So the offer of the 10-year lease from Richard Goring was made to the council, and I do recall it was discussed at the meeting. So I don't know whether Councillor Alexander was on the Amenities Committee at that meeting, but that offer has been put forward and has been discussed. And secondly, at the communities meeting, which was in the November, so less than 6 months ago, and I've got the minute in front of me. It says Jill Munsey to work with the clerk's office to pursue a new simplified DMMO application at the rifle range, and that was the minute. So it is less than 6 months ago that I was told to go ahead and pursue the application, and therefore contacted all these members of the public who's filled in all these forms. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Jill. Well, could I have a proposer for the motion? I think that we have on our minutes that to discuss and agree to deliver the completed DMMO application for the rifle range footpaths to West Sussex County Council. So the motion is, if somebody would propose it, please, to agree to deliver the completed DMMO application for the rifle range footpaths to West Sussex County Council. Is there a proposal for that, please? Or something?
I'll propose that if necessary. I think it should perhaps also add in and supporting evidence.
Right, that's fine. Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Right. Could I have all those in favour, please?
And that's 4-4, Chair.
I think it's 5 actually.
5.
5, sorry.
Sorry, Rodney. I couldn't see your hand. That's
no, okay.
5-4. Yes, you would be there because you seconded. 5-4.
Those against, please.
And 3 against.
Thank you. So the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Richard. I'm sorry it didn't go your way, but you know, maybe West Sussex will let us know their decision in due course. Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much for attending. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jill.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Jill, very much for coming.
Thank you, Chris.
Oh, yes, and Chris, sorry. Yes, you too. Yeah. Thank you very much. Now we return to the agenda and matters arising in actions. John.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
If you wouldn't mind. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, 5.1 actioned. 5.2 residents backgate access to MPF car park. Update from myself. We managed to locate 2 letters from our archive written by the council to previous owners of 2 Newham Lane discussing permissions being sought for said access. Clearly then we're in a slightly different position than we were before, and also and clearly I was going to make another I was going to draft another letter and send it. I didn't know if there were any points from any individuals before I did that today.
Thank you. Rodney.
I thought we agreed it at the last meeting that you would write a letter, John. I mean, all this letter that Hazel's, you know, kind of ferreted out from the archives is almost confirming what the council at that time agreed with us at this time. And I thought that at the last meeting that it was agreed you would write to them and give them no option, but just in a polite way, say that if you know it's unauthorised unless they can prove otherwise. It's that simple, you know. So I don't know what. So are you saying you haven't written the letter that we agreed for you to do last meeting?
John.
I haven't written another letter, Rodney. I'm not sure it said for me to write another letter. The initial letter I wrote, and obviously these letters surfaced in the meantime, so I thought I'd give you the opportunity to make comments before I said pretty much actually what what you just outlined.
Thank you. Sarah?
I think the whole point is, firstly, I was very surprised that the letter was delivered by hand. I would have thought it should have been sent special delivery, because then we have, as a council, we have proof, A, that it's been delivered, and also, a by hand letter which is delivered to a household where the name is incorrect. I personally, if I received post after such a long period from a previous owner of that house, I wouldn't actually probably even open it up and read it. And I think the whole point's been missed. It's not up to SPC to prove whether or not they actually have got authorised access. It's up to them to actually prove to us that they have got it. And Councillor Lloyd may well remember this, and this is going back quite a number of years before I was actually on the council. This is the same location where there was a dog poo bin which just vanished overnight. Lock, stock and barrel, not only the bin, but the post was dug out and it just disappeared. SPC never actually found out who the culprit was who removed the bin. And this is in the same area where we've had the recent controversy over a bin in the location where these unauthorised gates are. I just cannot believe that so much unnecessary time has been wasted on trailing back to 2006, and it hasn't actually helped us at all to find the proof that they haven't got unauthorised access. Sorry, please don't interrupt, Councillor.
I'm just
Deputy
saying, we proved it,
Clerk.
didn't we?
No, you haven't proved. You haven't proved at all whether or not this. You've got two names on this, two separate names. You've got two names on both of these pieces that you found from 2006 and 2012. Those householders aren't the same as the current householder, nor of the householder who John delivered a letter by hand to. So we've got four different names. The whole point is, at any point since 2006 and 2012, when you unearth this, information, somebody could have got authorization. We're wasting time unnecessary. A simple special delivery letter saying, can you please tell us whether or not you've got authorized access, and then it's down to them to actually show us. And the whole point is, just as in the council in 2006 made the point, at the moment, if there is authorised access, that means that we couldn't, for any reason, even temporarily, close the car park if necessary. We all know that we sometimes get emails sent to us warning us of people who've been evicted, and it's just important that we don't know what could happen in the future. We might want to, at quick notice, be able to close the car park for 24 hours. And if they've got authorised access, we wouldn't be able to do that. We're just going around it in the wrong...
Thank you, Sarah.
We're doing it in the reverse to what we should do.
Thank you, Sarah. Joanna?
Well, at the risk of talking slightly off the point, because I wasn't going to talk about the letter, I'm frankly at a loss as to why we would want to prevent them from having access to what is basically a piece of concrete. If it's an issue of whether or not we're able to lock the car park, then can't we just give them the key? It's not onto the memorial playing field, it's onto a car park. Frankly, I think it's a storm in a teacup, and I think just let them carry on using it. I really cannot understand why we would want to go into battle with a resident, because they are a resident and they are entitled to use that car park as much as anyone else. And it seems to be entirely unnecessary.
Thank you, Joanna. Simon?
Why on earth would we close the car park anyway? It's the obvious landing zone for the air ambulance. So in the point of a medical emergency of the town, what you're doing is basically delaying somebody's medical treatment. The argument of closing the car park is completely defunct. It's the obvious landing zone for a helicopter.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you. John, I believe you did write a letter, and you did write it to the correct addressees.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, having established that there was a new owner and we worked out what the name of the new owner was, then yes, I addressed it to said individuals, and I know it went to them and to the right address because I was the one who hand delivered it. So, and within that letter, I did ask for any further information, permissions, as suggested. Perhaps I should. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So I think we need to write another letter.
Oh, excuse me, can I just have a... I'd just like to kind of correct Councillor Norcross. We're not talking about the people using the car park. I mean, that's one issue. The main issue is that they've got vehicular access over a piece of ground onto that car park. So that is the main issue. It's not that they can use the car park. They don't use the car park. What they do, they use the car park to get, and they go across a strip of land owned by the parish council and then park their vehicle in their back garden. So I was only just correcting what Councillor Norcross had said. You know,
right. Thank you very much, Rodney. Tim.
Chair, can I just suggest perhaps that we write another letter, actually we haven't received a response to the current one, in a more forceful manner, I think, which was put forward once before, and have this delivered by registered post. And then if we don't have any response on that, we'll pursue it accordingly.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. Sarah, I think you've had quite a long time speaking, and so I think we need to put this forward for agreement, please, that we write another letter with a bit more force. Yes, well, whatever. Sorry, that's the wrong word. And do it by registered post. So I think that's the next step. I can't remember how long ago it was that John wrote the last letter, but I think at least a fortnight has elapsed, and so I think it's time to write again. Is that right, John?
Yeah, must be over a month, I would say.
Over a month. Okay. So could I just ask for your agreement that that's what happens, that we write another letter and it goes by registered post? Your hand up. Sorry.
Yes, sorry, Chair. I've been trying to come in for some time.
Sorry, but you're very close to your computer, and I couldn't see your hand at all.
It's this screen I'm not used to. I just wanted to come back on the point raised by Councillors Norcross and Alexander. The fact is that we are trustees of this land, and we can't just give away our rights. So unless they have acquired a right by prescription, and it appears that they haven't because there's evidence been dug up to show that it at best the use has been it's started relatively recently, certainly less than the 20-year prescription period, they have no right to it. Now, once we've established they have no right, then we can, if we want to, we can grant a license, because then we can revoke it at will. But what we can't do is let people acquire rights over our land, because we're trustees of this land for the public. So either somebody acquires a right by purchasing it or by acquiring a license in some way, which we are entitled to revoke. But to just pretend that they've got a right when they haven't is not what we as trustees should be doing. The only other point I would make is I've got no idea why anybody would spend their time going through 15 years or so of records when the burden of proof is on that landowner to show that they have got some right. So we should have just written to them to say, as far as we know, you have no right. We're going to put a bollard there. If you think you've got the right, please let us know. But I mean, how many hours it must have spent? I mean, John says he's got 40 emails a day. So to go back through 15 years of emails and looking on old computers and that has been an utter waste of the clerk and deputy clerk's time, as I see it.
Right, thank you, Paul. Thank you. So could we agree that we send a further letter by registered post saying that they don't have permission, and would they please let us know if they feel that, or rather, sorry, evidence that they know that they do have permission. Are we all in agreement about that, Tim?
Chair, I just wonder whether Councillor Campbell might help to phrase the letter for us so that we can make it more forceful. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I don't want to do it on the hoof. If you want to delegate me to work with you, Chair, I'll happily do that.
John?
No, I wasn't suggesting on your own, but for you to help to phrase it.
John, how would you? John?
Yes. Yeah. Both,
that's all by you.
Paul working with you, Chair. Yeah.
Yep.
To
Okay,
draft
that's
the letter
fine.
would be great. Yeah.
Yep. Good. Okay. Are we all agreed on that, please?
Well, shall I propose that then? That
Oh, yes, please, Tim. Yeah.
I'll second it.
I haven't got there yet.
Oh, sorry.
But I'm close. I'm close. I propose that we delegate the clerk to write a more forceful letter to the resident and to liaise with Councillor Clark and the chair. Sorry, Councillor Campbell and the chair over the content of the letter.
Thank you very much. All
I'll
Rodney,
second it. I'll
right.
second it.
Okay. All those in favour?
Sarah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6. That's 7-4, Chair.
Thank you. All those against?
And 1 against.
Done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. Right.
Will I continue, Chair?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. The next 5 matters arising have been actioned or are on the agenda either later on or have actually already been discussed. Then 5.8, Councillor Alexander tasked with gaining further quotes in respect to enhanced allotment water supply. Maybe Simon able just to update us briefly?
Yep, very brief update. I have initially sent over the schematics from Councillor Campbell to Hollinger trenching. They were struggling to understand those, so I have committed to them that I'm going to redraw the schematics. Of course, I'll send them to Paul to make sure he's happy with what I've drawn, but try and do it electronically on a computer so we can actually map out the various different pipelines. So one for hoses, one for water troughs. Once I've got that done, I'll get them out to the various different professionals out there and get some quotes in.
Thank you. Rodney.
Well, you know, there was a firm working in Steyning that do water mains in. They're doing some work in the High Street, but their access was in Charlton Street. I have got their details, and it might be that when you send out for quotes, that you ask these people. They seem to be a pretty professional bunch of guys. So I'll forward.
Send them across.
Yeah, I'll send them to you then, Simon. Okay. And the other thing, Chair, going back to
no, sorry, Rodney, we can't go back. I'm sorry.
5.3. You see, it says see agenda item 4.1, but we haven't got 4.1. So.
Oh yeah. But no, we've got 4.1.
It's the minutes.
Minutes of previous meetings.
Sorry.
It's the minutes.
We've got minutes of previous meetings. Yeah.
I didn't know.
We've dealt with that.
No, I mean yeah.
But we've dealt with that item, Rodney. So could we move forward, please? Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for that suggestion. John, would you like to 5.9?
Well, Chair, sorry, can I?
His hand up. Chair.
Can I say something in response to Councillor Alexander? Because Councillor Alexander is talking about the work within the allotments, but the other thing he's supposed to be doing is dealing with the question of a new water supply in from the road And I'm just wondering what the situation is over that. They were supposed to be getting self-lay organisations to quote for that. And we've had, as I understand it, we've had the excavation done, so we know that needs doing in from the road to the meter. So I'm just wondering if Councillor Alexander could tell us what progress he's made on that.
At the moment, on the basis I spoke to Hollinger and they struggled with the schematic that was provided. As I said, I'm going to redraw that. I wanted to get that right first before I went out to other contractors who may also have the same problems understanding that schematic. Of course, we do have that connection from the main to the meter. That is generic, but it would be good to go to one company to do all rather than one company to do inside the allotments and then one company to do up to the meter. I was trying to sort of simplify it rather than split it across. No doubt as well, the fact that if it is one company, it will come at a lesser rate because you will have trenches or pits open by one company rather than two.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you. John, can we move on to item 5.9, please?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, it was just to say then that the 8 remaining matters arising are either on the agenda later on or have been actioned. So that takes care of those.
Thank you very much. So I think we need to move to item 6.
Sorry, Chair, before we move on. Sorry, Chair, before we move on, 5.14, which says action. Do we mean actioned as in the play area is closed, or do we mean actioned as in the fence has now been replaced or sorted out and the play area has now reopened?
John.
Yes, if I respond to that. So the action was to write to the resident to inform them of the play area closure and to progress work as soon as possible. So yes, I have written to the owner of the fence, and she is she's liaising with our contractor now. So hopefully moving that process forward.
And meanwhile, it's closed, isn't it?
It remains closed until the works are completed, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Does that answer your question?
Well, only partly. I mean, do we have a time estimate for when it's actually going to be done?
No, we don't. No, we haven't got a time estimate on when it's due to be completed, but I am in general discussion with the owner of the property.
Can I ask through the Chair how far we've got with that? In that it was a month ago that we were saying we needed to press on with this. The play area has been closed for a month, I presume. We need some sort of timescale.
Yes, well, I've regularly conversed with the owner of the property, so we are discussing it, and obviously the hope is that it's done as soon as possible.
Well, that doesn't really mean anything, does it?
And she is in conversation with our contractor. Is that right, John? Yeah.
Yeah, as I understand it, yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, Rodney.
Well, I was going to say that, I mean, we need to try and put a deadline on this. I mean, the summer's coming, the kiddies will be wanting to play on there. This has been going on since September 2019. It's not as if it's just happened. I think we've got to kind of ask the owner, that we'd like the work done, and put the onus on them. I mean, otherwise I can see it'll just go on and on and on and on and on, like a lot of other things.
Well, that is very true, Rodney, but in 2019, I believe you were chairman of the council and Paul was chairman of amenities.
Right.
So
don't start.
No,
sorry, but
Chair,
I don't think you can please withdraw on and on.
Can you please withdraw that? Because the clerk was advised of that in September 19 by email, and he's done literally nothing about it. Now, because I was chair, and I send a few emails, and this is where all this email traffic comes, because the clerk doesn't respond.
Excuse me, Chair. Point of order. This is not what's discussion. Can we please stop this?
This is part of the discussion. I just think all I was saying to you was that you always say on and on and on, but it's not always on your watch, our watch, whichever.
No. Yeah, but then you shouldn't have made that comment then, Deborah. You made a comment almost insinuating that I was chairman of the council and Councillor Campbell was chairman of the amenities. We did nothing about it. We did.
I didn't say that.
No, you
Rodney.
Implied it. And
no, if you think I implied it, I apologise, but I wasn't implying it.
No,
Rodney, I think that's enough now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
Well, can you apologise, please?
I have already. You didn't hear me.
Right.
I did.
Can you say it again?
Right.
Sorry, I'm deaf.
Yes, I said I did not imply that, and if you think I did, I apologise for it.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's it. But you were. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it any further.
No, of course you know,
John.
because you want the last word, and I was chairman. I know that, but my last word is that.
Again, this is not on the agenda.
Rodney, I think that's enough, Rodney. Now, thank you very much.
Well, that's
thank
right.
you.
You were the one that
John.
put it on, Deborah.
Yes, thank you, John.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was just going to remind the committee that the resident is new. She moved in just before Christmas, which is a difficult time to move in anyway with a young family. I didn't want to come too robust in that it is meant to be down to her to mend it. We are working together. It's what, you know, we can and should do in these situations. So we will move forward as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you. So if we can move forward to the next item, please. Which is 6.2, please, to receive an update on the Abbey Road project, if available. Now, we've had an update from Roger Brown, and I'm just asking John or Simon if they've got anything to add to that update. John.
I didn't know if Simon had anything to add, but I was going to offer to read it out either in part or full, depending on your thoughts, because obviously Roger's gone to the trouble of completing this. It came in late, so it hasn't been put up as a supporting paper.
Ah, right. Okay. That would be lovely, John, if you could read it out, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will do so. So this came in from Roger, an update for the Abbey Road project. That's February 2021. It's relatively quick. Work days. As he understands the roadmap regulations, that's the COVID regulations, we may be able to have our first work party after the 29th of March with a limit of 6 people. If this is the case, he will set up a few dates in April so that we can involve as many people as possible. He will let us know about this later in March. I'll circulate that email around, obviously. In terms of the yellow rattle, most of the site has been waterlogged from November to the end of January. Because of this, we have been unable to sow the yellow rattle seed in the meadow area as planned. But the soil had dried out enough towards the end of February to sow the seed in the areas that we had prepared last autumn. Whether it germinates will depend on having some more frosty nights in the next month or so. As an insurance, he also sowed some seed in modules at his home, that's Roger's home, so hopefully he will be able to plant these out as plug plants during April if the other means fails. The pond responded to the winter rains and filled up to its maximum level at the end of January, as reported last month. But the lack of rain in February, that's 39 millimetres compared to 149 millimetres the previous year in February, has led to it draining away quickly, so that by Feb 28th, just the area close to where we dug a trench last year still had water in it. Now, well done us, or the team, the working party, for digging that trench, because it had consequences. And the reason being frogs. Last year we found a single clump of frog spawn in the pond on the 13th of March. This year, on 16th of February, Roger spotted 8 clumps in a shallow part of the pond, and by the 20th of February there were 30 clumps in very shallow water. We rescued some of this and moved the rest into deeper water. On the 28th of Feb, even more had been laid, and this was also moved into deeper water. So this is really good news, meaning that there must have been at least 25 pairs of frogs active in the pond this year, as each female only lays 1 clump of spawn each year. That's the end of the report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed, John. Thank you. Simon, you haven't got anything to add?
No, nothing at the moment.
No. Okay, thank you. So shall we move on to allotments?
Oh,
Please.
Deborah, can
Yes.
I just have just one quick thing, because it's not on the agenda, but Roger's also sent a nice update on the community auction, which I think should be mentioned as well.
I think. Sorry, Rodney, just to interrupt. I think that's on in our information correspondent items.
Oh, is
okay.
it? Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah,
right.
later on. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Update from the allotment working party in regard to the new allotment agreement details. Here we are. Right. So we had a meeting yesterday, actually, and we've had our first working party on the allotment agreement, and a framework is now shaping up. Another meeting. Oh yes, we're going to have another meeting, as a few other details are being dealt with by Paul and Tim, so that the end of the next meet by the end of the next meeting, we should have a draft agreement which will be sent out to all allotment holders for their comments. Have I anybody like to add to that, please? No, okay. Thank you. Well, that's the report from the working party. And then, sorry, I can't see my agenda. To receive the allotment report and to discuss and agree any other allotment actions. We've all had the allotment report. Thank you very much, Hazel, or Tessa, whichever it was. Thank you. Tessa, it was. Thank you. Are there any comments on the report, please? Sarah. Sarah.
On the third paragraph, it says that the caretaker continues to attend the allotments to trim and tidy the communal areas. To me, a communal area would be that, the communal area and the wide path. I thought that ID Verdi are contracted to do that, and the allotment is just do the tiny little strips in between their plots.
Oh, I don't think so, Sarah. I think that's part of our our agreement, that we do actually trim and mow the main path and the main, the bigger paths that go down in between the allotments. I think that's right, John.
So it's not it's not ID Verdi you do it.
John, sorry.
Yes.
I don't know. Yes.
Thank you. It is ID Verdi to do the main parts. We help with the very minor ones adjacent to the plots and tidy and ensure access is available for all the plot holders.
Thanks. Sarah, you want to come back?
That's my point. The report says that Steve, the caretaker, trims and tidies the communal areas. Which I would have thought the communal area is the wide avenue, and the communal area as you go in and each end. I
Well,
wouldn't
maybe,
have thought the communal area was the little sim between their plots.
Tessa isn't here, but maybe Hazel, you could answer that, please.
She probably means that he's tidying up all the vacant plots and other things. Not that we've got any vacant ones now, but he has been doing that right up until November. He was keeping the vacant ones and any areas that seem to get untidy down some of the paths and in areas that people haven't cut. But Ivy Verdi do the main part, as John said.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Right, okay, thank you very much for that.
Sorry, Chair, Rodney.
Oh, Rodney, sorry, yeah.
Okay, yeah, at the last meeting, there was mention of 27 warning letters, and the clerk was going to let us know about this, but we haven't had anything since.
Right, okay, John.
Not that I can recall. Can the clerk please enlighten on that? There's 27 warning letters, and we're not aware of it, is a little bit out of order, I think. Well, obviously they are out of order.
Thank you, Rodney. John.
Yes, the idea was that we would put this on the monthly allotment reports, and we have done. That's why the final paragraph says 2 emails and 1 letter sent out to plot holders this month to remind them that their plot needs some attention. The sites having been inspected in terms of a need to keep on top of weeds and ensure 75% cultivation. So these would have been added to, you know, the cumulative total. This is what we're talking about.
Right, thank you. Sarah.
Can I just respond to that? Oh, yeah.
Oh, all right.
Sorry. Yeah,
Quickly.
Okay. Okay, so to make it clear then, these 27 warning letters are over a period of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, right. So we haven't been told about it in previous reports. Suddenly it comes in that 27 warning letters have been sent. I can see, you know, if in the last month you sent 2 emails and a letter, that's fair enough. But it sees 27, you know. So can you kind of enlighten over what period were those 27 letters sent out?
Thank you, Rodney. Yes, Hazel, sorry. Yeah.
Well, we hadn't put them in before, but then for some reason it was agreed that we would put them in there, and they were accumulated from the spring right through to the summer, and they're not actually warning letters. That was unfortunate wording. They're just letters reminding people that they haven't cultivated properly or tidied up, or there were weeds, or there'd been a complaint from somebody else on the other side of their allotment.
Thank you. John?
Yeah. Yes, it was just felt that this was a standard function of the office, really, to send out chasing letters or emails to those plot holders who we felt maybe could, you know, do a little bit better. You know, we're just looking at the overall appearance, and maybe that's a way in to discover if people have issues, of course, because that's what we want, is an ongoing open discussion. So the reason we haven't mentioned these before is that we didn't feel it necessary, because really these are standard letters. But because it was mentioned, it was put through as an FOI, it was brought up, and it was suggested that then we make a note of it on our monthly reports. That's what we're doing.
Thank you. Sarah?
These warning letters, as they were described, are they to like 1 or 2 people, or are they widespread? Because if it was over a lot, you know, if the 27 letters were sent to quite a few different tenants, then it would give us an indication of if there is some sort of issue that we need to be looking into.
Thank you, Sarah.
It would be quite interesting to know whether these letters were sent to 1, 2 people, or was it sort of like 27 separate people? It'd be interesting to know.
Off the top of my head, I can't give you that answer, but I do know that if we write to someone and nothing's changed within a month, then we write to that person again and say that you've now got 4 weeks to tidy up, otherwise we'll terminate your tenancy. and we probably did that about 3 times last year.
Thank you. Thank you.
3 people.
John.
Yeah, just really to say it's 1 email or letter per plot. That's basically it, because we're just dealing with 1 plot at a time when we're sending out these letters.
Thank you. Thank you. Rodney.
Yeah, I'll just have a turn. I mean, 2 things. A, it's a lesson learned that the office must kind of make sure that when they do things that they keep councillors aware of things rather than
this is not on the agenda.
Rodney, I'm sorry, Rodney, but actually what they're doing is just their job. We
No,
don't.
It's not. Yeah,
yes,
but
it is. We
Yeah,
don't need to know.
27 letters on an FOI, and we didn't know anything about it.
Not on the agenda.
Sorry,
Rodney, I'm sorry. This is not on the agenda, and
it's not on the agenda, nor was the other thing. So straight away,
hang on a minute. What I'm saying is that Hazel has already said these are not letters.
No, look, carry on.
They've got to go. They're just letters. They are just letters. Rodney, would you be quiet, please, and listen to me?
More dysfunctional.
Rodney,
I'd like to call for point of order, please, Chair. Understanding order 2B, can I ask for a motion to be passed for Rodney to be not heard from again? He seems to be disrupting this meeting continuously and hasn't taken heed to your warning. So I'm proposing, understanding order 2B, we pass a motion that Rodney is no longer heard, please.
No, I'm asking genuine questions.
Is there a seconder for that, then, please?
They might not suit you.
Right. That has been seconded by Joanna. Could we have a show of hands, please, that Rodney should be quiet, please? So all those in favour? So those against? Sorry, I froze.
4 against.
4 against. So I will use my chairman's casting vote. And Rodney, would you please mute yourself? Thank you. Rodney, will you mute yourself? Well, Hazel, would you mute Rodney, please? We voted. Thank you. Hazel, would you
I'd just like to say that I've been doing the allotments for 18 years now. I've never had a problem like this before. I've always been doing the letters. We work in accordance with the Allotment Association agreement, and we've never had these issues before. We don't have to report every single time we write a letter. We're doing our job.
Thank you very much, Hazel. Thank you. Okay. So can we move on, please, to the next part of the agenda, which is John, did you want to talk about the skips? Have we done that? Sorry, I can't remember. We've talked about the skips, yes, haven't we?
We have mentioned it, and it was just to say that we will talk in further detail at the next meeting, but in the meantime we can provide the service because we have financial responsibility to do so, you myself. So we'll come back to that.
Thank you very much indeed. So could we then move on to item 8, which is finance, to agree the income and expenditure reports for January 2021. Are there any questions for John on these, please, or Hazel? Tim.
Yeah, can I just sort of reverse that and ask John if he's got any issues that he wants to raise from there that councillors should know about?
Thank you. John.
Yes, thank you. Thank you both. Well, I will point out that there is one misposting and on the first page, that's electricity 4252. That was put under playing fields, so it was put under 4252301 instead of 4252303. So we'll put that right next reconciliation, which will be in a week's time. But really, following on from the last meeting, not a huge amount has changed. The areas where we are sort of over budget are still the water and electric for the same reasons. But we've dealt with that next budget by increasing that budgetary amount. And no, I didn't really have very much else to say. Clearly, we've seen that the income has slowed to almost zero in terms of room hire. We do still have our preschool club, so they are pretty much keeping us going in terms of that particular area. So we will get slowly towards 19, 20,000 by the end of the year, as we expected to do. But that would
Thank
be it.
you very much. Yes, and I noticed the blood donors came as well.
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
Thank you very much. So if we're Tim.
No, it's only just a little bit of good news, I think, that it might be possible, so we've been told, that we go back to live meetings in May. So that's something to look forward to if
yeah, if we all agree it, yes.
Well,
yes.
which should of course help the income.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Tim. So can I propose that we accept these this income and expenditure budget, please?
I'll second that.
So, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you.
That's unanimous. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. The MPF, item 9, Fletcher's Croft, to discuss and agree to set up a working party to further discuss with HDC and or to agree to secure a lease licence for the Fletcher's Croft play area and fitness area. There's some supporting papers, and we need to agree a working party just to take this forward, please. Simon.
I'd like to propose a working party if both are acceptable of yourself and Councillor Norcross.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You happy to do that?
I'm very happy to do that, yes.
All right. Or could I propose, oh, sorry, you've proposed it and somebody seconded it?
Second.
Right, thank you very much. So can we all vote, please? Those
Sorry,
in favour?
Who seconded that, sorry?
Sorry, Simon, who seconded you?
No one yet. I was waiting for you.
I thought you did. Councillor Norcross, sorry, you did. Yeah. So all those in favour, please. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Good.
Sorry, I didn't have a hand from Sarah there.
Oh, sorry. All those against, please. Thank you.
Sarah, did you agree for or against?
You're muted, Sarah. Sarah, you're muted.
Was that for?
Yes.
Sorry, was that
Yes.
for or against?
Yes, sorry. My other hand was not on the screen. It's squishing two people into one box.
Yeah, okay. Yes, yes. Okay, thank you very much. Good. And Hazel, trade waste bin emptying costs. Hazel has done some work on this, and we're to discuss and agree alternative contractors and possible preferred service option. Now, we have looked at this before last month, and Hazel was tasked with looking at other suppliers, well, suppliers of service, I suppose, collectors of our rubbish. And basically, I think it hasn't been terribly successful. Hazel, would you like to report on this, please?
Yeah, Simon was doing this with me as well, and we couldn't find.
Oh yes, sorry.
We couldn't find anybody willing to do the MPF because their vehicles are too big. We also couldn't find anyone that wasn't landfill, so we weren't very successful with getting anybody else apart from, really, as we've already got HDC, unfortunately. The others
Right.
weren't able to do within the time that we need them to empty because of the play group. And like I say, the others weren't able to get into the MPF. The only people that could do incinerators was Grundon's, and they couldn't quote for us because they couldn't do the time and that we need, and they couldn't get into the MPF with their big vehicle.
Right, thank you, sir. Thank you, Hazel. So I think I would like to propose that we continue with HDC doing their collecting for us, please. Could I have a seconder for that?
Second. Clear choice.
All those in favour?
Unanimous, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. That's lovely. Good. 10.2, Steyning High Street uneven road surface, to discuss and agree any actions required. Now, Hazel, you've been investigating this. Please, could you report?
Following Rodney's email, I went back to Highways and I did send the response out to everyone where he said he will continue to monitor the road in the High Street. We may well have a problem underneath, but all they can do is monitor it until they actually see something really going wrong. So that's where it is at the moment. If we do notice anything more, then we can always go back to him again.
Right, thank you very much, Hazel. Thank you. So could we move on to progress report? Now, actually, down at the bottom under 11.7, we've had this on for at least a couple of months, and it's chairman and vice chairman to arrange meeting with the cricket club. And so it is still ongoing because we really need to be there to understand what they would like. So we're going to try and arrange a meeting as soon as possible. But it is just, you know, an item that we have is still ongoing, but I just wanted to report on it that we are actually actively doing something. We're going to get more dates from Paul, I think it is, and meet on site with the clerk, possibly, and if not, with myself and Simon. Thank you. So now could we go on to lanyards, the progress report at 11.1. Lanyards reduced subject to logo agreement. John, can you talk about that, please?
Yes, very briefly, Chair. Thank you. Well, obviously we have the logo agreement, so we know where we stand and how or what we should be putting on the lanyards. There was some discussion as to whether there ought or ought not to be a policy, so we brought that up at Personnel Committee and discussed whether there needs to be a policy for the use of lanyards, but we agreed actually that all we really need to do is put some guidance on the lanyard itself for those who were to use it, just to make it, you know, easier that way. So we can pursue the production of these, no problem at all, providing I've got pictures sent in to me, and I do have 3 pictures from councillors sent in, so I can pursue those. But if anyone else wouldn't mind sending the standard passport size photographs, then I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Sarah, is that Sarah or was it Gary?
No, sorry.
No, it's all right. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't send in a photo because I'm not going anywhere at the moment, so, and I don't have a photo, so you know that's the reason why I'm not sending in a photo. With regard to the policy for when you wear your landlord, I just assume that if you're there on any sort of council business, or you're there, for example, if you're looking around a play park because you'd seen something, that you just put your lanyard on.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Thank you very much, Sarah. Councillor Hanson Clark to appeal to school for reinstatement of library car park arrangement. This is still ongoing, I'm afraid, because the person that we wished to speak to, we were told to speak to, has now left and is no longer chairman, and there is no permanent chairman at the moment, so I'm afraid this is still ongoing. So we'll keep an eye on what's happening, and when the school has settled into a normal rhythm, we will get back onto this subject. Thank you. John, could you go on from there? 11.3, please.
Yes, 11.3. Thank you, Chair. Steyning Centre lean-to project details to be brought back to committee ongoing. They're not really, this is preschool, they're not really concerning themselves with this project at the moment. There are other more important aspects to what they do on a day-to-day basis. 11.4, Clerk and Councillor Saunders to make small amendments to residents' consultation questionnaire. This is Chandler's Way project. We haven't pursued that mainly because, Georgia hasn't actually been in the parish that much in the last few months. She's having to stay in London, so that's not really helping. So we'll come back to that. The memorial celebration tree policy to be reviewed, 11.5. That will be a larger item for this committee to discuss. And future committee meeting. 11.6, Clerk to continue to keep councillors informed about possible mass vaccination hub. There is no news, hasn't been any further news. I'm not necessarily continuing to press because obviously there are or have been other large mass vaccination sites installed relatively close by, and it seems that things are going smoothly. So, and until I know any more, there's nothing more to say at this point. Simon had his hand up though, Chair.
Right, Simon.
I was only going to say, I know it's when it comes to max vaccination sites, we've now got Henfield online. I know, I went there the other day and had the jab myself. And yeah, it's very well organised. But I mean, one of the things that you may or may not be aware is the demand and supply we need to be able to facilitate for it. Enfield Medical Centre actually had a loss of power because the freezers that were installed drew too much power down overnight, and it blew their electrics, which caused a bit of a delay and a problem. But so it is what it is. But Henfield and Storrington are working really, really well.
Thank you very much. Gary.
Henfield didn't lose any of their vaccines when the power went down, apparently, which is good news.
Right, thank you for that. Good. We've done the cricket club, so could we move on to item 12, which is information and correspondence? John, there's some correspondence.
Yes, a couple of bits, if I may. As Rodney mentioned earlier, and I had sent out to councillors, but I wanted to state under this area because I didn't know there was going to be a report. Anyway, it's a report from Roger Brown with regard to the Steyning Community Orchard. Very brief one, if I may.
Yes.
Okay. So this is for March 2021. Steyning Community Orchard. 5 more apple trees were planted in the community orchard in February, including 3 more Sussex Heritage apples. These were planted according to the plan agreed with council last year. Due to the current COVID restrictions, we could not invite the tree donors to take part in the planting, but as soon as allowed, we will have a tree dedication ceremony when we can invite them along to celebrate the addition of their trees to the orchard. Moving on, there are 5 bird nesting boxes and 2 bat boxes have been fixed to the larger trees in the orchard. Also, by the end of the month, there were primroses, snowdrops, crocus and wild daffodils flowering in the grass around the trees. These have all been planted by us over the last few years. And lastly, we have also planted, that's the Steyning Community Orchard group, have also planted 5 more apple trees in the Downland Orchard on the Steyning Rifle Range, and sourced and helped plant 3 more apple trees on Nick Mill's Bramber Orchard In the last few months, we have provided a new orchard at Faken with 12 apple trees and sourced a further 10 fruit trees for local residents to plant in their own gardens. That's the end of the report from Roger. I didn't know if Sarah, if there was anything else to add.
No, nothing else to add.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. John, I think, is there a second letter?
Not a letter as such, but just, oh, sorry, Gary's got his hand up.
Oh, Gary. Sorry.
I was just going to
Sorry,
say,
Gary.
can we thank Roger Brown for his 2 excellent reports?
Oh, yes,
and
we
the hard
will.
work
I
done?
think, yes, I think we have already, but yes. Thank you very
I
much.
have, but it's worth, yes, thanking in the public session as well, isn't it? Because he does us proud every time. Thank you, Gary.
You very much. Yeah, yeah.
And yes, just a very quick note. I've engaged in email correspondence with a representative from the Steyning Greening Group, who have been in touch with Horsham District Council to look at a possible installation of a recycling bin in the or adjacent to the High Street car park. They're also looking at other areas. Now, Horsham did come back with a one-line agreement in principle for this and suggested that it should come to Steyning Parish Council for our support. Now, I will therefore bring it on to the next agenda. I didn't have it all in time for this one, but also I will pursue our contacts in terms of waste management at Horsham, just to ensure that actually they do have the facility to successfully clear recycled things as well as standard waste. Anyway, we'll come back to that if there's any further news.
Thank you very much, John. So is that the end of correspondence?
From my point of view, Chair, didn't know if there was anything else.
No, I don't think so. Thank you very much. Well, at 9:39, that's the end of the meeting, the end of the agenda. Date of next meeting is the 6th of April at 7:30. So I'd like to close the meeting, please. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming, and look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Brilliant. Well done, Chair.
Good night.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Is someone still recording?
I don't know how to, so it's not me.
Terrible.
I think it must be Paul.
Okay. Anyway, I'll finish the meeting. I'll switch it off at my end. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Hazel. Thank you.